Tim Paget from Time Magazine. Taking your questions today is Jorge Ramos, the Emmy Award-winning news anchor of the Spanish language network Univision and the author of numerous books exploring Latino culture and issues, including Tierra de Todos, A Country for All, which was just published in English this summer. Jorge, muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros. Thanks very much for being with us.
Gracias. Thanks so much.
As a Mexican-born, naturalized American citizen, what is your take on the current immigration issue in the United States, specifically regarding the Arizona law?
The most important thing about the United States is the promise of equality. And even Alexis de Tocqueville talked about that. The possibility that it doesn't matter where you come from, you're going to be treated as an equal. The Declaration of Independence said that all men are created equal. But right now, millions of men and women in Arizona and in other parts of the United States are not being treated as equal. And I can't believe that. I can't believe that the most powerful country in the world is persecuting 11 million people. This country has treated me in an incredible way. This country gave me the opportunities that my country of origin couldn't give me. And I just would like to see that this country treats the immigrants who came after me the same way, with the same privileges that I just got.
But what would you say to those who argue that it's not persecution, but simply trying to enforce our immigration laws?
Well, I'm seeing definitely persecution. I mean, I'm seeing what's going on in Arizona, what's going on in the border, what's going on in Fremont, Nebraska, what's going on in Utah. For me, it's persecution. And I think countries are being judged by the way, not how they treat the rich and powerful, but the way they treat the most vulnerable. And the most vulnerable population in the United States right now are the undocumented immigrants. It's difficult to comprehend that a country that is based on these principles of equality and tolerance and acceptance of immigrants now suddenly is turning its back on other immigrants. So something is wrong with the system. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I think we need an immediate change to the immigration system in the United States.
Do you see any end soon to the drug war in Mexico, or is it a problem that future Mexican presidents will keep inheriting?
I think this is a problem that is not going to be solved in generations to come because of corruption and because it's not the right strategy to confront a problem like this. On the other hand, we also have to understand that there is violence and drug trafficking in Mexico, in part because there's a huge market for drugs in the United States. So Mexico cannot win this war alone. It needs the help of the United States. I remember that President Felipe Calderon recently came to the United States and he told us that the majority of arms confiscated in Mexico from drug traffickers come from the United States. So I think this problem is going to continue for many, many years, maybe for generations, and Mexico cannot do it alone.
Do you foresee a scenario where Mexico admits its problem with drug cartels merits U.S. military intervention?
Mexico will never accept U.S. military intervention. 1848 is always remembered in Mexico. That's when Mexico lost more than half of its territory. So Mexicans will never accept U.S. military intervention. Having said that, I think that the presence of UN soldiers in certain parts of Mexico, including Ciudad Juarez, should be examined, should be a possibility, because it is very clear that the Mexican government cannot control Mexico.
How do you see the political future of Hugo Chavez in the medium term?
I understand that Hugo Chavez has won many elections. I've spoken with Hugo Chavez at least 3 times. And what we are seeing in Venezuela right now is not a democracy. When one person decides the future of millions of people, that is not a democracy. Hugo Chavez controls Congress, the Constitution, the military, most media. And when you control everything in Venezuela, as Hugo Chavez is doing right now, it's very difficult to think of a near future without Hugo Chavez. On the other hand, the opposition has to reorganize itself much better. Who is the leader of the opposition in Venezuela. It's almost impossible to say right now. And as we are seeing in Cuba, change has to come from within the country. Change cannot come from the outside. And change in Venezuela has to come from within Venezuela. I am very concerned about the new attack of Hugo Chavez against Globovisión, the only opposition television network in Venezuela. And if things continue the way they are, unfortunately, we're going to see many more years of Hugo Chavez.
And finally, what was your impression of President Obama during the first interview with him?
He gave Latinos a lot of hope. And I have to say that right now, many Latinos are deeply disappointed with President Barack Obama and with Republicans for the lack of action, for the lack of political will, and for the lack of leadership on immigration.
Otra vez, gracias.
Oye, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.